Welcome to Talk Design Podcast, the space where creativity meets conversation. I'm Adrian Ramsey, your host, and as someone deeply entrenched in the world of design, I'm thrilled to introduce you to the minds that inspire me, in the hope that they will spark something special within you too. From a design past crafting women's swimwear to pushing the boundaries of performance sportswear, from mountaineering to international yachting, to implementing systematic innovation solutions that transcend boundaries in aerospace industry. My heart remains rooted in architecture, and exploring the emotional tapestry woven by built spaces is my fascination. My journey in design has been what can only be described as a life of design. I want to thank you for lending me your ears. I'm eager to embark on this next episode together. My guest on Talk Design today is Richard Petrie. Now, Richard Petrie, known around the world as a marketing guru, he is a partner in the Architect Marketing Institute. And I've worked with Richard for, goodness, I don't know, must be 5 years or something.
At least.
At least. And over that time, we've had many great discussions around marketing, business, around wealth strategies, around sport. Richard's a first-class cricketer for New Zealand as well, so he's got a sporting mind, and also he's probably one of the best mindset coaches I've ever met. And when it comes to putting your mindset in the right space to move yourself forward and to set goals and to see vision, he's a genius. So Richard, welcome to the show.
Great. Always good to be here. Thanks for having me, Adrian.
It's always good to be called a genius.
Right. Yeah. Good that you could read my notes.
You sent them to me. Richard, I would love to dig into, because, you know, you deal with a lot of designers, a lot of architects. That's your business. You coach them. And whilst you say, you know, the Architects Marketing Institute, I think you go a fair bit beyond, you know, telling people put an ad on Facebook or something. It's a bit more complex than that. Certainly my experience. And then road mapping for people, and then teaching people mindset, holding them accountable, all those things. Oh, with all this stuff that you do as a business and this marketplace for architects. And also, just I want to put a footnote in there, which is in most first world countries, we have a housing shortage. You know, in America, they need to build 3 million houses a year. They can build about 2. They're a million short every year. Now, that goes to builders as well, like the amount of resource there is, the number of people entering trades has dropped. And then not only that, the amount of materials required to build that. Australia, again, I can't remember the exact figures, but it's well down on what needs to be produced to house people. New Zealand's down as well. England's down as well. Canada's down. You know, you start doing this. So why aren't architects the richest people in the room?
Good question. It's something we've been talking a lot about lately. What, you know, I'm an architect. Why aren't I rich?
Yeah, it's a good topic.
And, you know, why aren't you rich as an architect or a designer? I mean, think about great designers. You know, you think about the great cities of the world, Paris and
lots, New York, London,
I mean, exactly. You know, and the reason they're great cities. Venice, we're going there soon.
The reason because of the architecture.
It's because of the architecture. Yeah. You know, I mean, I don't know another city that you call a great city, or you know, I mean, that isn't as a result of architects who have created iconic buildings. More just the buildings, but even the way they all work together, and the atmosphere. You know, I mean, Paris is the city of love or romance, and you know, you got Venice, and they've all got their own. You know, they've designed all these. But anyway, architects have done this. Architects have created great cities.
Yep.
Right, and you know, and think about too. I mean, a fully qualified architect. I don't know. You know, I know you don't need to be necessarily, but to get your architecture certification at the highest level, it's about 7 years. To get that, which is the same as a doctor or a
lawyer,
or even longer than, I think a lawyer's 5 years.
Yeah. Well, and they don't do as much, do they? Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, they earn a lot more.
Accountants. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
accounting.
haven't met an architect yet that builds in 6-minute increments.
No, no.
That's the law. That's the lawyers here, about 6-minute increments. Often
I've met a lot of
accountants as
lawyers.
well.
I've met a lot of architects who don't bill at all,
Yeah, I've met too many of them as well. They're a
or
problem.
don't bill for everything.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
part of the reason they're not rich. But going back to why aren't they rich? I can think of three core reasons, and we can discuss them. But
Yeah, for sure.
and I think we're going to go through why the average property architect isn't rich. But having said that, you and I both know some architects who are. So maybe
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
move
Well,
to
I mean, obviously people like Norman Foster and stuff, they're wealthy for the amount of impact that they've made on cities or environments, for the amount of impact that they've added to that. He might be worth $100 million or something.
right.
That is nothing compared to, say, the banker
Yeah, yeah.
or, the Amazon, who just,
Well, and
distributes things.
there's
Yeah.
lots of because we deal with a lot of architects around New York,
Yep.
and their clients are the rich
Yeah.
Wall Street bankers. And you talked about there's one or two there's one guy who does Amazon and one who does Facebook, but there is thousands of bankers on New York who are worth not multiple billions, but some of them are worth billions. There's a lot
No,
of
it's
them
certainly worth hundreds of millions.
hundreds of millions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're just merchant bankers. They're just taking a
Yeah.
cut of everything.
Hmm.
What do they produce? Nothing really. They
Yeah.
just create liquidity of money for moving and clip their ticket along the way. But going back to why an architect's rich, right? So one of the reasons I think is they get stuck being the artisan or the technical expert,
Hmm.
and what they need to do, and you do this, not that you do the right thing, but
Mm.
there's a good thing to remember, and it's if you're going to be in business, let's say you're a marketer of architectural services first,
Yep.
and you're an architect or you're a designer second, right? So
Mm.
getting that clear in your head is the first thing you need to do. I am a business owner. I need to win great, not any project. I need to win great projects. So I need to skill myself up to be a great project winner.
This is all businesses though.
All
All
business. Yep.
businesses need to skill themselves up to be able to offer something. They've got to have a pitch, and
Yep.
that pitch has got to bring value to the consumer, whether it B2B or whether it's B2C, doesn't matter. That pitch is critical to them gaining the projects that fit with
Yep.
whatever their genre is. Don't
Yeah.
have
And
to be famous.
even if I'm a restaurateur, I've
Yep.
got to work out who are the clients I want in my restaurant,
Yep.
and if I'm running a good restaurant and I want to run a business, not just, and there'd be many restaurant owners who I just want to run a restaurant and cook fantastic food, right? It's the same as the architect. I just want to do great design. Well, no, you're running a business first.
Yep.
So if you're running a restaurant, you've got to pick your type of clients. You've got to pick the food that they're going to want to buy at a
Yep.
high price. And you've got to do all that strategy stuff first. And then you've got to work out how you're going to get them in the door. And then you've got to work out how you're going to keep them coming back. And
Mm.
that's your first job.
Mm.
The
Mm.
second job is then cooking the food, but that's the
Mm.
second job. So too many designers overemphasize. It's not to say you don't train yourself up to be great design, but that's not really the problem for most of them, because they are good at what they do. They love their work. They give, and they love people, and they're trying to please everybody and study and go to courses on design. You're a business person first. So if you're going to run your own business, it doesn't matter whether you like sales or marketing. It doesn't matter if you don't like being salesy or,
Whatever.
well,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it doesn't, because you can have somebody else do the sales and marketing, provided you've got the strategy.
you got to sell.
Yeah.
You've got to market. So number one, you're a business owner first. You need to learn how to market and get the right, not any type of business, the right type of projects in the door. That's your first job. Your second job is doing great design for those people.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that does affect architecture may be different from other businesses. You can be, say, a lawyer, or, other professionals. You could be a lawyer, and you can be doing tons of small work in the background. It'd be like architects that just do bathrooms, just do bathrooms.
Right.
But they may never do a new build home. The other thing is so if you say you're a lawyer and you're just doing wills and conveyancing and things like that, away they go. They can do that, and they can put a market price on it that is quite high for the actual amount of work they do.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's not necessarily highly complex work. It's slicing and dicing of rules and regulations like that. Whereas the minute you go into, say, new builds or major renovations and those things, you have a lot of overlays, a lot of compliance, a lot of things that have to be, it's complex work. That complex work isn't finished that week. That complex work is finished maybe in a year, maybe longer. And then it gets built. Nobody even knows it's happening other than a few people until then. And then it gets built, and that's another year. So
Right.
in a good sense, you might do something that's a show-stopping project every year, but by the time you've got enough body of them so that you're known as the person who, does wills, where you did 40 in that week, you've got maybe one project that's enough of a standout, and it's taken 2 years
Yeah.
for that to become a thing.
Yeah.
And then the next one, let's just say it's in 3 years. And to get momentum takes a long time.
Yep.
And to get a body of work that people go, oh, I can trust that person now.
Yep.
It takes a long time.
Yeah, well, it does if you're relying on a body of work to get you the projects. And so
we'll come back into that with AI.
come back to that later, because there is a solution for that, or at least
there's ways to accelerate that.
Yeah, that's right. So one is, don't rely on your body of work if you don't have it, right? Do other things you can do. So
we know that there is this thing where you've got to approach it like a business first, and a business is going to need a brand, sales and marketing of that brand, administration of that brand, and then it's going to need the function that the product that brand puts out there, and then also the partnerships that brand forms in the marketplace. Those are going to be the kind of key factors, and that's how you build brand equity, is by maximizing those key factors. And the product that you put out there, pretty much these days, if it's shit, everybody will know, and if it's good, some people will know.
Right.
But social media and the way our platforms work in media now, if you're doing a shit job, you'll be found out.
Right.
And if you're ripping people off, you'll be found out.
And marketing is like an amplification tool. If you're doing shit work, people just find out about it faster.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. And by the way, when you talk about brand, if you're a bigger company, you can kind of build a brand around your brand values. But for a lot of small design firms, when you think of brand, the easiest way to think of it to get started is just you. When I think of, Adrian Ramsey Design, what's his brand? It's Adrian Ramsey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So people buy off people. All I'm focused on, I don't know what you put on, you'll put stuff on your website, and I might have a look at that. Yeah. Once I've met you, any sort of preconceptions, maybe, around brand that I might have picked up, have been washed away by the reality of, I'm now here talking to this guy, and here's what he's like.
And are we a match?
And are we a match? And how do I think he's good or not good?
Yep.
And that becomes your brand now. So any preconceived notions I had have just been washed away. So for a bigger firm, you can bombard people with Nike can bombard people with $1 billion worth of advertising and try and create, here's the brand values and all that type of stuff. But for a small design firm architect, everything in the brand is you.
You look at that. Phil Knight was never the brand of Nike. He ran Nike. It was a business.
Yeah.
And, he did all those things with Nike, but he separated the brand from him.
Yeah.
He was the business person who pulled it together. And that's probably another distinction that means that a lot of architects are front and center.
Yeah.
And mindset-wise, they aren't in business mindset. And not only are they not in business mindset, they are seeing themselves possibly too much as the servant and not enough as the problem solver.
Right. Right. Well, and I look at your website. You've got a great website. I love your website, and I often show it to people. If it's a true fact that really for a small firm, the architect themselves is the brand, that
Mm-hmm.
and what are you selling? You can talk about your products and
Hopes and
services.
dreams, man. Hopes and
Well,
dreams.
yes, you are, but what you're selling is yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
Your
and you're
ability to
selling.
do a job.
Correct. And,
Yeah.
and, and I'm looking at this guy or this woman and going, Adrian Ramsey, is this the guy that can get me what I want? So you're selling yourself. That's your
Well,
product. Right.
go back to that point because this is something that is a point that I make with a lot of builders and with other designers and architects is when somebody is going to engage, say, a doctor,
Yeah.
they go to a doctor because they've got a problem or they're trying to de-risk a possible problem. They might go for an annual checkup. Yeah, because they've been told that, if they don't, then this could get them, and that's so it's a fear-based thing. They go to a doctor when they're sick already, and they say, "Please fix me." They go to a lawyer most of the time when they have a problem or when they're trying to plan something
Right.
to de-risk a future problem, whether that's contractual or whatever. If you look at, say, something like architecture, they come, let's just do residential single family home first. They
Yeah.
come because they have a dream.
Yes.
Totally different motivations.
Yes.
They have a dream.
Yes.
So if we go into, like development space of architecture, those, again, it's driven by a dream, but
Mm.
then also by a profit margin that the dream will deliver.
Mm-hmm.
People in their single family home, maybe they go, "Oh, well, in 5 years' time, we can sell it again and we can make this much money off it or whatever." But ultimately, they're coming with a dream. And as an designer or an architect, you are an early stepping stone in putting down a foundation stone that gets them a closer step to their dream.
Mm-hmm.
That's what your job is. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you've got to unlock their dream with them,
Mm-hmm.
tell them how their dream can carry, how you can deliver and a part of their dream. You've got to be maybe have the runs on the board, maybe not believable, committed, all those things. But we're dealing with a dream. We're dealing with something that's really precious to
Right.
somebody.
Right.
And then we're going to pass that dream on to the builder or the GC for the US. That we're going to pass that dream on to our vision of that dream with the client onto that next person, and they're going to take the next piece, which is taking it through until somebody gets a set of keys and now their dream is realized or that part of their dream's realized. And they'll be dreaming of Christmas in 2 years' time and 5 years' time. They'll be dreaming of grandkids sitting on the kitchen bench and chopping up, snow peas with them, or they'll be dreaming of gardening. They'll be dreaming of snuggling in front of the fireplace or watching their favorite show or having their friends around and getting drunk at dinner. Everybody swimming in the pool, seeing sunsets in their view. This is the dream. And you step yourself all the way back, you are selling the first foundation stone to putting the dream in place. When you
Mm.
shift that thinking from I'm designing you a house, I'm putting a foundation stone down to get you to your dream.
Yeah. And some people have a clear dream and some people don't. And so it depends. If you can turn up and ask questions and find out they are very clear on what they want and they're very
Mhm.
strong on it,
Yep, perfect.
not much I have to do here. But
Mhm.
if they're a bit vague and hazy, my job is to crystallize that dream, turn it into something very strong, very clear, very compelling, and affordable.
Yep. Yep. Because
And
otherwise it doesn't get built, and then
well,
the
no,
dream
that's
doesn't
it.
get realized.
Because
So
seeing is believing, and the
yeah.
more they can see it, the more motivated they get. And so I reckon you brought up a really good point there. This is another reason why architects probably aren't rich. And it goes back to the human mind. You talked about it earlier, but we're all motivated by pain or pleasure. Pain or
Mhm.
pleasure. Of the two, pain's a lot easier to sell. Selling pain relief is a lot easier to sell
Yeah. Even
than,
if you have to create the pain for them first.
well, that's right.
That's
But
that's sales.
there's a saying: you're better to be the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff
Yep.
than trying to convince them not to jump off the cliff.
Yeah.
And so if it's pain or pleasure, when we talk about those professions that are earning a lot of money, surgeons, well, usually you're doing surgery
Yep. It
because if you
could be
don't,
for pleasure, could be
you might,
for visual enhancement, could
it
be,
could, it
you
could
know,
be,
yep.
it could be, but that's only for a very small,
hmm
rich
hmm
segment.
hmm
People who are having very expensive heart operations, that's
It's
everybody.
a little bit critical.
And it's a much bigger market, right? So
Yep.
I've got a problem with my heart. I've got a cancer. I've
hmm
got whatever, all sorts of disease,
Yep.
problem, pain, everybody. And they all have to find the money, or the government has to find the money for them.
Or their insurance.
Or their insurance. Now, but architects is pleasure. You're
hmm
selling, in most cases, you're selling pleasure. You're not selling pain relief usually. You're selling the pleasure of the person has come to you because they've got this beautiful
Dream.
dream. To some degree it's been articulated, and they're trying to create a pleasure situation. So you either move away from pain, which is the easy one to sell, and lawyers are the same. You
They
come to
sell
a lawyer,
pain.
you're
Yep.
having a divorce, you
Yeah.
need to split up the thing. It's pain,
Yeah,
pain,
or
pain.
you're buying a house, or and you're selling a house.
Yep.
Buying a house could go into the pleasure side until you deal with the lawyer, and then it's not going to be. I shouldn't say that. I've got
Yeah.
mates who are
So
lawyers.
pain you're moving away, pleasure you're moving towards. And
Yes.
architects are selling the harder one to sell, which is the pleasure.
hmm
It's a bit like you're selling plastic surgery. There's a small number of people who can afford, and you and I talked about it earlier, maybe of all the, let's say, homes, we'll stick
Yeah.
with homes that are
Just go single resi. Yeah.
that have been built, about only 5% of them have been designed by an architect.
hmm
So it's harder to sell. Whereas how many surgeries have, I mean, so 95% haven't been done by an architect. How
Yep.
many heart surgeries haven't been done by an architect? By a
Only only the ones that the people aren't here to tell the story.
they haven't got the story.
Those
So
ones, happened on, the battlefield or in the jungle somewhere. There'd be a few shamans that have done them, I'm sure, but yeah, like those people aren't here to tell the story. It's a bit like brain surgery. They probably can't tell the story afterwards. Yeah.
and so so pain and pleasure is, that's another reason is architects are selling pleasure, which is a bit of a harder sell. The other reason I reckon architects aren't rich is and it always comes down to this too, is supply and demand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In any situation, you want to be, the ideal situation is you want to create a monopoly where
Yeah.
there is a need for a certain service and you are the only one that can provide it. And this is one of the, sort of strategies that
Takes you back to niching.
yeah,
Yeah.
that I look to create with my clients is okay. We can't say that architecture is a niche, but we can go for something smaller, create a real demand for it. And if we can create a demand for it and tell a good enough story, and people buy into the story and the mission and the vision for that narrow
Yep.
sort of niche, then when they go to say, well, okay, yes, I buy into that story and I buy into that philosophy. Okay, how many, can I get maybe 3 quotes from people who are into that thing? And you go, well, actually, no, there's only one person who can do that. That's this guy
Yep.
or woman. And that's it. So
I think that's a really valid point when you look at it is all businesses, whether you're a lawyer or whether you're a surgeon, surgeons niche all the time. I'm a brain surgeon. I'm a heart surgeon. I'm a cancer, like I do biopsies. Surgery is, or the medical system, other than a GP, which is almost like just the main kind of lead in. That's the first step through the door. And then as soon as it gets beyond just a general practitioner's point, it goes from that to a specialist. And then
yep,
they're all niched.
yep,
They're all niched at
yep.
that point.
And
And
the fees go up.
oh, everything
Fees
goes
go
up.
up.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's less of them.
Yep.
They usually have more control over the client.
Mhm.
They earn more money. They're more respected. I don't know why you'd want to be a generalist. So a GP is like architect.
It is. It is. And people still go to them though because they're experiencing pain. So when they get there, they're looking for solutions. They're really looking for solutions to stop the pain they're in.
Mm-hmm.
When you're going to an architect or a designer, you're coming to them with the idea of getting
Yes.
yourself further forward in the pleasure process. It's probably a
Yes.
bit like going to the sex toy store.
Oh,
You
is
know,
it?
I'm guessing like people go because they want,
Right.
you know, a better or different
Yeah, right.
experience. And
Yeah.
so they may or
There
may
may be a
not
little
get
bit of
it.
pain. There may be a little bit of pain with the
Depends
house.
what
It's
you're
not
doing.
working.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know what you're thinking. I had to with the house, or
Well,
anything
the
else.
pain will often be, I think, for people is they don't realize how complex the situation is to create it.
Right.
And there's a thing that I say to my clients, oh, we're about to go into the million question phase. And they're
Right.
like, what the hell is that? Like this is the scary bit. And I go, well, it's where you're going to feel totally overwhelmed with the number of decisions that you're going to be making.
Right.
There's
Right.
going to be so many decisions, and they're a jigsaw puzzle, and you can put them down in odd orders, you can do them all like this, but if you can actually go, let's fill in the sky, let's fill in the hills, let's fill in the bush or the lake or whatever it is in your jigsaw puzzle, if we can do it systematically through there, then we know they'll all link together well. But if
Mm.
you just kind of cherry pick them, then those decisions are going to be arduous, and you're going to end up with with a real sense of overwhelm. You will anyway. There's a sense of overwhelm as you go through all these things,
Mm.
and that's the skill of the architect or designer to carry those people into the process and getting them making fundamental decisions early. So early in the process, that will lead to better, easier decisions later,
Right.
that as they go along. And I think, yeah, that's probably the part where I go, there is a level of pain in it that they're going to be up against. And
Going through. Yeah.
yeah, and there'd be a level of pain generally between, I always say, if you've got a dream and you're going to your designer or architect, ask for what you want.
Mm. Mm.
But in that, what you want has a budget figure as well. And that could be, it's based on dollar and value. It's a dollar value equation. Am I getting value for the dollars I'm spending? There's a budget figure, which is a target in there at the same time. And the pain will be that some of the things that you want won't fit in your budget.
Yep.
And if they do, they may not fit in your value budget as well. It may be that, yes, I can have it and yes, I can afford it, but is that worth 100,000? Am I getting 100,000 worth of value out of it? And that will be the next portion of it. So yeah, there's that thing. Your dream should be big. I always say, dream big, ask for what you want, because if we don't know what you want, you're certainly never going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got to be flexible enough to know what the hierarchy of what you want is going to bring it back down
Mm.
to what you want for the dollars you're prepared to, or the financial input that you're prepared to make, the investment. So there are some pain points, but they're still coming for their dream.
Well, the pain points are often part of the process. It's not they're not deciding to go ahead with the project always because of pain.
No.
There is pain to go through to get the pleasure, which
Yes.
makes it even worse. I mean, a surgeon, I'm going there because I'm in pain, and if I don't do something, I'll die.
I'll die. Yeah. Or maimed or whatever.
Whereas with design, if it's like, oh, I want a better house, it's like if something comes up or it gets too hard, I can put it off for a year. It's not, I'm not going to die.
I might be uncomfortable, but I'm okay.
Not
Yeah.
relatively. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll just live in our $2 million house instead of the $5 million dream house. It's like, we can't, it's easy to put it off, whereas you can't put off your heart surgery.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you, and it's around, because I think supply and demand is one of the big issues that designers have.
Mm-hmm.
Is that there's too many of them for two reasons. Well, and this is my question to you, and you may not know the answer. I don't know the answer, but
I'm sure I do.
Clearly,
No,
if a lot of architects or designers are not earning high fees consistently as an industry compared to other industries where they put in the same amount of study, are the universities pumping out too many architects? Like let's compare it to a surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
How many surgeons get pumped out, and compared to how many architects get pumped out? And is it an oversupply? Is that the problem? And if so, why are the universities able to pump out so many designers? And how do the medical profession and maybe even the legal profession restrict supply? Do they have more control over the universities or the schools to reduce mass production of, they want high demand, low supply. And I don't see that in architecture. I see mass production.
Well, there's an interesting thing with that because probably they don't produce too many architects. If you've got people coming to you because you have a headache, like a persistent headache, and you're a doctor, your market is maybe filtered down by chiropractors, physiotherapists, maybe a few Reiki people, but there's a sort of a holistic side to it. There'd be some dietitian type sides to that as well. That would all be different ways that you may attack it. You may attack this persistent headache,
which is a low-level health problem, you would say.
Maybe pointing to something far greater.
Would do, yeah.
Yeah,
but you're right.
Yeah. So that's the piece that you can't see. Yeah,
there are lots of options.
But in general, you would go, I need to go to a doctor.
Yeah.
That's the general first thought that you've got. And in the minute they go to anybody who can actually administer anything in a drug or anything else like that, other than like the pharmacist, that person has to be licensed. That person has to be, yep, that they are controlled by government regulation at that point.
Right.
You can go out, well, you've got a very clever wife, I'm sure. If you said to her, "Look, Julia, I think we'll do another house. Would you like to design it?" She'd go, "Oh, maybe not that good," or "Yeah, I'd love a crack." And
she can.
She can.
Yes.
She can. She can draw it on the back of a napkin on the kitchen table as long as she gets it close enough. She may not know all the overlays and stuff that are going to be required to make it work, but she can go and design that. She could also just pop down the road to a local draftsperson who maybe could design it, take her vision forward. And she can certainly, with those things, go to a builder, and the builder's license will allow them to build it.
Yep.
Now, that's like going, oh, well, and the builder has got some qualifications, but their qualifications aren't in design.
No.
They're in construction.
Yep.
And so it's a bit like that thing where the GP doesn't operate on you, the surgeon does. And the Reiki practitioner doesn't go, oh, well, we'll just open up the side of your head and have a look. Yep. But the surgeon does.
Yep.
But after they go through a number of steps. So maybe it isn't an oversupply of education. It's an oversupply of market that people can, they can go to one of the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of builders that exist. And if that builder says, oh, yeah, I can design it for you, whether they can or not, it's a whole nother thing. I can design it for you. Away they go. Or they go, oh, I just have to go to that draftsman who's got a license to operate. In some states, you don't need an operational license to do anything. You could just be drawing it yourself and taking it in. In different states in Australia, definitely that changes. And in New Zealand, I'm not exactly sure where the law sits. In different states in America, that's different. But not one of them has to go to an architect to get the outcome.
No.
They don't have to go to an architect. They maybe need an engineer. They maybe will need a builder to get to the outcome.
Right.
That's kind of interesting, eh? If there is an oversupply, it's because there's so much other stuff in the market, I think.
Yeah, and
so many alternatives.
You're allowed to, I would be allowed to design my own home, and that comes down to another thing. So one of it's the perceived value of good design, and that's another reason. And I think what you're saying is right. I think there is an oversupply. It's a perception. There's an oversupply of people who can do design, which means you've got lots of options. You don't have to go for the expensive architect option, or
Mm-hmm.
but that's the problem. Is there's a perception that architecture or good design is expensive, right? Because, and I'm going to put it back because I'm going to do something mean. I'm going to do it for the architect's or the designer's best interest,
Yeah.
because you're not good enough at communicating the value of good design or your design. So it's your fault, Mr. and Mrs. Architect or
Yep.
designer, because
Yep.
you're not good enough at communicating why hiring you is going to deliver more value than paying someone less money and getting worse design and doing it themselves.
Yep.
Right. And so why it's mean is it's not what you want to hear, but it's actually good for you, because at least if you go, well, if I can identify the root cause of the problem, it's not, of course, we know clients are going to be confused, and a builder can do it and the draftsperson can do it and they can do it themselves and an architect can do it. That's fine. They're going to think that. But if an architect comes on with good communication skills and is able to communicate value, their
Mm-hmm.
value,
Mm-hmm.
the value of good design, then all that stuff can be pushed aside, where they go, okay, if you've done a good job of that, they end up saying, I can't afford not to hire you. Yes,
That's the difference.
yes, you're twice as expensive as you're three times more expensive than the draftsman.
Might be 10 times. Yeah.
You're twice as expensive as the other architect. But from what I've learned by talking to you, I am better off paying you twice as much as the other architect and three times as much as the draftsman, and the builder will do it for free
Yeah.
to get the
You know
build.
why?
But I'm better off to pay you all this money rather than do it with the builder, because I'm going to get more value from you by paying you money. Now that's the skill, is communicating that. And right, I'll throw
Oh,
it to you, and
yep,
then
yep, yep.
we can talk about how.
Well, I've got a question in there as well, because the communicating of it is it's one thing to communicate it. When you're trying to communicate that to a broad spectrum of people, the marketplace.
Yeah,
Yeah. So even
yeah,
if you're niched, let's just say, I mean, I live on the Sunshine Coast, and I will always have some jobs on the Sunshine Coast. It's where I live. It's the easiest jobs to have,
yeah,
When you're communicating that to your, local network or
yeah,
whatever, you've got an opportunity to get in a bit deeper. When you're communicating that to a broader marketplace, architecture is something that to really understand it, you almost have to experience it. Like, I came from the clothing trade, and I'll use this as the analogy. I used to be a licensed Gore-Tex designer. So that meant that I could create Gore-Tex garments.
right.
So now you couldn't,
Okay.
because
I'm not
because
licensed.
you no not registered and licensed with them.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
like licensed with Gore-Tex for making waterproof clothing. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
And every garment that you make that's got to be waterproof is tested by them. They test it. They say, yes, it's okay.
Okay.
So Gore-Tex, this, expensive. You go to buy a Gore-Tex jacket, oh, it's going to be this is going to be the pricey one. You go to buy the shoes that have got Gore-Tex, oh, it's going to be the pricey one. The reason is because they control the design process outcomes. Now, I remember having this conversation with somebody. They said, why is Gore-Tex better?
Yeah.
And I said, look, the best way I could get you to experience it is I give you this shitty PVC raincoat,
Right.
and it is fully waterproof. I promise you, it is fully waterproof. You will not get wet in it. It's plastic. It's just a plastic bag.
Yeah.
And we're both going to go for a hike, and we're going to walk 4 miles in the rain up this hill. And by then we'll be halfway up the hill. Now you'll be bathed in sweat. You'll be wet. You'll be wet through, but not from the rain. You'll be wet through from the sweat that's come out of your body,
Right.
because you've sealed yourself off. So your body cannot breathe. You are not, your temperature regulation is gone because you put yourself in a plastic bag. I'm going to feel comfortable. Now we're going to swap garments. Well, in fact, I probably just wouldn't wear one. Now we're going to swap garments, and you're going to go, oh my God, because you've got the comparison. Now,
Yes.
with architecture, you can go, well, what would be the extra benefit?
Mhm.
Now, I could say to you, well, the way the house circulates. the distances you travel to things, whether the door opens on your right or your left, whether the bench has X amount of space around it, whether the light comes in the morning or in the afternoon, whether it's daylit or whether it's sunlit. What all these different things that make it, what's the volume like? What does that volume create in a feeling of intimacy or grandeur or whatever these things are? So the first thing is I can go, oh, look, take you into a space. It's just big, it's bright, light and airy. That would be a very common thing, light and airy. There's thousands of light and airy spaces, but do they function well? Do they overheat? Do they over sunlight instead of daylighting? How are they formed and what happens in them? To get somebody to experience that, well, there's another way. You take them to a job that you've done that's like that, or to a building that you know of that's like that, and you explain these things to them. They're only experiencing it in a moment.
And do you take them to a building which is a piece of shit as well?
Well, generally not.
No, but not one of yours.
No, but generally not.
No, because the first example you gave was putting them in a plastic bag and putting them in the Gore-Tex. And even if you didn't do it, you told a story, and it was a story of two jackets and two experiences.
Yep.
I'm thinking, what a great story. Even just listening to the story, you've sold me on Gore-Tex, great. But when it comes to design, if you're only going to tell the positive story, that positive story lacks.
Yeah.
Well, it lacks something if you don't also have the contrasting, you've got the good and the bad side by side. I love side by side comparisons. So if I was
taking sense,
you said, I'd take them to a really good house where everything works, and then I take, or vice, the other way around.
One way or the other, but yeah.
Then I'd take them to one that doesn't work and go, notice the difference. Same thing, same number of rooms, same this. I don't know whose house you'd use for the bad one, to walk them through,
Well, you wouldn't have to go far. That's the funny thing. You wouldn't have to go far.
You could drive around neighborhoods because I, even me, I'm not an architect or designer, but I'm at the stage where I can drive around and go, that one was designed by a builder.
Yep.
Even driving around, because we're in the Hamptons, and I was with Heather. And I think she'd always say is, an architect didn't design that. And I got to a point where I could see
where you could spot it.
I can tell, that's a builder's job. That one's an architect. And the architect's one they just looked right and they looked good. The builders were functional, but they were ugly,
and sometimes they're not functional. So like I get this thing, I do the TV show. So, I'm the host of Dream Homes Revealed for Queensland in Australia for Channel 9. And with that, I go, I don't know how many houses in a season, maybe, I don't know, 50, something like that. I don't know. I can't remember. But, I've done a couple of seasons, about to do another one. With that, when I look at those homes, I walk into some of them and I go, oh, okay. So the builder designed this, and I could read my call sheet and probably work that out. I don't necessarily read the call sheet for that. I read the call sheet to get their name. And I go, I know my job well enough to be able, as a presenter and a host, but to be able to also go that part, and then the other part of, oh, okay, I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Oh, that's seamless. Oh, that flows beautifully. Oh, isn't that a beautiful transition through there? Oh, doesn't that feel good? Oh, I love the way the light falls in from there. That's going to look even better in an hour. I'll say to the camera crew, get that shot now, fine. But when you're getting your shots later, we're going to need that because we're going to get a shaft of light that's going to fall a certain way and it's going to light up that whole wall. And then we're going to get all that texture. And if you can imagine living in here, that texture will shift during the day. It will always be interesting. It will engage your circadian rhythms. It will shift how you feel as a human being. These kinds of things. And you go, I can see that. And when I often go into ones that are designed by builders, I go, there's poor use of space. There's often big space, but it's poor use of space. And it loses intimacy. It loses the ability to have conversation areas. It loses connection.
And that's the contrast, right? And so, how would a small time designer who's not doing a TV program be able to educate someone on good design versus bad design? And I'm thinking, here
Yeah,
as we
me too. I'm going as well. I'm
well,
going, okay, how
I'm
can that
thinking it
happen?
has to be done because just showing good doesn't communicate value. It just shows good. You can only and what I want as a client is I want that experience of going, oh, now I get the difference in design. Now I
Yeah.
want to learn and go, oh, I have learned what good design is on this aspect and this act. And if you're the one teaching me, now I'm just
So
thinking
it
that.
sets up a value proposition, doesn't it?
Yep, and you've got that contrast of before and after, or good versus bad. But it's only when they're side by side that I understand it, because I'm starting to see, oh, that's the architect's one and that's the builder's one.
Mm.
I'm starting to feel I'm smart now, because now the one way that could be done is with photos. You could be teaching people with photos. You could be taking videos.
Mm-hmm.
I could download stuff off the internet and go, look, here's an example of Adrian Ramsey walking around a house and he's squirming at the design of this place, and he's saying this is done by a builder. So I could find visual. I don't have to be my project. It just has to be.
No, it just has to be
I'm in the
something. Yep.
I'm in the zone of being the one that teaches you what good design is. And if I can be the one that teaches you what good design is, you trust me because I'm teaching you and you're feeling you've gained value from learning what good design is. Now you want good design. And
Yes.
the assumption is now I've seen bad design and good design. It's a bit like the Gore-Tex jacket. Now I've worn this plastic bag and I've worn the Gore-Tex. Now I get it. I'm smart. I want the Gore-Tex jacket. And it'd be the same with design.
And it might cost me a little more.
It'll cost me more, but I understand why now.
And I'm the winner.
And and you've
I'm the
armed me
winner out of it.
you've
Nobody else.
armed
I
me
am.
with things that I can tell other people as to why I'm paying the extra, and it
Yep.
makes me look smart. And so, yes, I don't mind paying for better design if I understand it. So, what I'm saying is, it's the designer's job. Part of the job is, because the industry doesn't teach people what good design is. Most people have got bad taste, but it's your job to do some sort of education with your client to teach them good design versus bad design, and what's the difference and what's the consequences of the Gore-Tex
Yeah.
jacket.
Yep.
You come back, you're clean, you're fresher, you've
Well, you're
enjoyed.
not exhausted. You're not dehydrated. You're not all these other things that go with that.
Well, you
You're,
could be wetter on the inside from all the sweat than you would have been if you just got wet from the
that's
rain.
what I said. That's why I say, oh, well, I just maybe wouldn't put it on.
That's
I
it.
just go, you know what? The rain's not going to be the problem anymore. I would be overheated. I would be sweating like crazy. My
Yes.
shoes would be filled with water as
Yeah.
it's all run down my legs, and everything that I've got drenched. I'd be carrying all that extra weight. It would have just transpired out of me into the clothing to be
Yeah.
uncomfortable. When the Gore-Tex one, as I sweated, it would be sending that out through the garment, and I would actually be getting lighter
Right.
because I would be losing that out through the garment at the time. And then
Yeah.
I can take on more hydration. So I would take on a liter of water. That's one
Mhm.
kilo. Then that would be sitting inside that. If I'm in the plastic bag, it's sitting inside with me. I've just
Right.
taken on an extra kilo. Whereas in the Gore-Tex jacket, I probably lost 50% of that before I've drunk it.
And so that's such a graphic side by side
Yeah.
example, and therefore it makes it very easy for me to go, okay, I'm paying more. I want the Gore-Tex. And I think part of the skill with a designer is to come up with the same sort of thing. You need to create contrast. You either show photos of good, photos of
Hmm.
bad, videos of
Hmm.
good. They don't have to be your videos. It could be
I,
Adrian Ramsey
I
walking
was
around the
I was
house.
about to say that. I the other day, and I've got to go back and find it. Somebody sent me an Instagram reel, and it's a guy who goes around, and he's an architect. And I'll find this just to send to you so we can share it through the AMI thing. But he absolutely destroys
Right,
design.
right,
Just he is
perfect,
just like
ruthless.
ruthless, and he's
Yeah,
got hundreds of thousands of followers
and
that are
that's
watching him
entertaining.
destroy.
That's
Exactly, but you could
entertaining.
go in there and just find the things that he does and go, this is why we don't do that.
Yes.
Now, you might lose the job to him, but he's got to find out a number of jobs that he's going to do.
Yep.
And if you do, that's on you for not being able to have put yourself in the position of being the person who can take it forward from there. That's your skill set again. But yeah, as you were saying it, I'm going, this thing, I followed him, like after about my fourth video of watching and went, God, this guy's good. He is so good. And he's narky with it. He's not
Right.
narky horrible, but he's
It's
narky with it.
snarky. Yeah, yeah,
He's got that
yeah,
snarkiness.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. You know,
he,
give it to someone else. He's a bit like the Simon Cowell that Simon
yes,
Cowell
yes.
used to be. That was the Simon Cowell, the snarky Simon Cowell who made all that stuff famous.
Yep,
He's
yep.
now the nice guy all the time, but he's already, it's set up. But people love a good tear down.
Well,
And look,
and you can use this guy to tear people down. You don't have to do it
you
yourself.
don't have to
He's
do it
already
yourself.
doing it. He's got
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of people
But
loving
you're
him
the
for it.
facilitator of training people on what good design and bad design is. Because if they don't know the difference between good bad, if no one's showing them the contrast,
Yep.
then you got no chance. So if you're the one who has taught them, and they feel they have made progress, and they feel they're a bit smarter because of it, then you get the credit for it.
Mm,
you know
mm.
and I reckon, you can, even with stories, you don't have to have visuals, you don't have to have videos, even if but you've got stories, and that thing of the Gore-Tex jacket was just a story. We haven't seen it. You just painted a great picture,
Mm-hmm.
and it was embedded in my head. But I could do the same thing with someone comes to me, let's say I'm an architect and I'd be a terrible designer, but let's say I was
You
one.
wouldn't start your conversation that way, Richard.
No, let's say I was one, and
Maybe I could use you for my
and
bad design
yeah.
pieces.
And someone said, "Hey, we're going to go with someone else who's a bit more expensive." Well, we're considering, the builder says he can do it for free, and the draftsman
Yeah, why are you so damn expensive? The
your
builder will
price,
do it for nothing.
right? And you
Yeah.
go, right, okay, well, I have had. Well, let me tell you a story, right? I've had someone 2 years ago, almost, same month, come to me, and they said exactly what you said. They said, I'm not going with the builder. I'm going to go with the draftsman, because the draftsman's pretty good, and they're half your price. And they went with the draftsman. I said, okay, it's up to you. But
Give them a kiss on the cheek and rush them out your door as fast as you can.
Well, yes and no, but they're not educated. But anyway,
Yeah.
they went away and they did it with the draftsman. And then I met them at there was a local community sort of fair down at the beach, and bumped into them. How you going? We're on good terms. And they came up to me and they said, Richard, I said, how'd your house go? It must be about. I said, no, it's not ready. It's taking us twice as long as we had been told. It's gone up by 300,000. The cost has
Skyrocket.
absolutely skyrocketed. And we can't, we're so deep into it. We can't afford to pull the pin out on it. We just have to go deeper into debt on it. And the design, we're not happy with the design either. And they said, you quoted a price which was more expensive than the draftsperson. But in hindsight, we look back and your quote was realistic. And the draftsperson thing is just blown out. It's not what we want. It's more expensive than what we want. And it's taken us twice as long as what we want. And it's been an absolute nightmare.
And is this their dream they were trying to realize? Not the nightmare they were trying to realize. They were trying to realize a dream, but they're in a nightmare.
And I reckon a lot of designers have heard those stories.
Oh, I've got those stories, and I could give you dozens of them.
That's the thing. Those stories are gold, because they are part of the education process for someone. When someone comes and says that and go, yeah, that's okay. I had someone say the same thing, but let me just tell you where they got to with it. And I can even give you the name and number. They went with a draftsman like you're talking about, and here's what happened. And I'm not saying that I don't know the draftsman. I didn't follow it. But I know they said to me at the end, we wish we had gone with you. We would have saved ourselves so much money. We would have bought this project in for 30% less than we're going to bring it in. Mm-hmm. It would have been completed 12 months earlier. Mm-hmm. It would have been worth more. This thing that we're building, we don't know if we're going to get our money back from it if we had to sell it, because it's not, it's not right. There's a lot of things wrong with it. Whereas your design looked beautiful and it looked functional, and it would have been we reckon it would have been worth this. whereas the design we got is worth less than what yours, and what we would say to people, to go, well, what did you learn from it? And they said to me, this is a story you can tell.
Yeah.
They said to me, we wish we'd paid an extra 30% and gone with you, because that would have been the best value and the cheapest option. To what the most expensive thing we did was go for the cheaper price
At the start.
That was the most expensive thing we
With
did.
the cheaper price, but they could have lucked it out and got somebody who was absolutely a genius, and wasn't charging a lot. The chances of that are really low.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it's not just the price, it's about the value that they're going to bring. And
Yep.
have they done it for others before? And are they going to be able to do it for you? Because clients can be their own worst enemy as well.
Yeah.
As you well know, they can stand in the way of their own success
Well, that's why a
very,
good
very
designer,
quickly.
that's the other reason a good designer is worth their weight in gold, because they control the process.
They know when to bulldoze forward, they know when to push, and they know what to accept
Well,
and
they
not
know when to
accept.
kick the
Yeah.
client up the butt and
Yeah.
haul them in and come
Yeah.
and have the come to nice pencil.
Yeah, I just saw yours.
Have the come to Jesus meeting that
Yeah.
needs to be had. You don't want a designer who's a yes man or a yes woman.
No.
Because
You want one that knows where they're trying to go. And that thing at the start of a contract where you go, okay, so these are all the kind of rules that we have to get you to the finish line.
yeah,
These are the things. This is our process, If you were going to run a race, we'd say, okay, well, we need you to get in some training. We need you to buy the right shoes. We need you to, wear the right clothing that's going to be suitable for what the task is going to be. And, the minute you go, I thought I'd just do it in bare feet. You go, well, you can. However, that might derail these other three things.
but not on my team.
Yeah, yeah. We can't work with you unless you're prepared to get the right shoes.
I've got a great analogy for that, and that is for designers who really know they should be in control. When a client comes to them, if there's a good quote by is it Norman Foster or is it Frank Petrie?
Yeah, one of them.
It's one says, I don't know why people hire an architect then tell him or her what to do.
What to do.
Right. And here's a good analogy for it, that if you're flying on a plane, right? I'm the pilot. You tell me where you want to go.
Yep.
Right, you can buy a ticket anywhere you want to go, but once you buy that ticket and you're on the plane, we're going to sit. You can sit in first class if you want, or you can sit in economy. We'll give you nice wine. We'll give you nice food.
But you're not sitting in the cockpit.
You're not coming in the cockpit, and you're not going to put your hands on the steering wheel or the rudder.
Yeah,
that ain't happening. That door's locked.
Yeah.
You tell me where you want to go. If you don't trust me to get you there,
don't get on the plane.
Hire someone else.
Yeah,
but you ain't coming in the cockpit, buddy. You used to be able to.
Back in the day, but you still couldn't touch everything and do all those other things. I sat in the cockpit for landing at Kai Tak in Hong Kong many years ago.
Oh, wow. That's
really, really amazing.
That would have been the best one ever.
Yeah, it was just incredible. But do you think I was allowed to touch anything?
Oh, yeah.
Nobody said, hold on to this, Adrian.
Yeah. I've got a vision. Hang on.
I reckon you could do it.
I paid for this ticket. I'm the boss here. No.
Yeah. Just give me a shot. Give me a shot.
Cuff him. Yeah, cuff him.
Exactly.
And that's what a lot of designers need. They need a set of handcuffs and
cuff their client
to haul them back and or not even let them in. It's kind of like, you can communicate with me, but you ain't flying. Once we're in the air, my job is to get you.
Well, you don't take your child or your wife, or your wife doesn't take you to the surgeon and the surgeon says, oh, well, come on into the theater, have a bit of a look at what we're doing.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, okay, cool. And then it's like, oh, why don't you cut that piece here? It's a bit like in childbirth, you may get to snip the cord. You may.
Yeah,
that
right.
might be your total thing. You can be in the room. They'll let you in. But as soon as something goes wrong, they're like, out you go, back you go. And then you may get to cut the umbilical cord, which, cool. They've worked out all those bits are safe.
That's right.
And that's like us saying to them, Yeah, well, we'd really love you to come with us when we're choosing what kind of joinery you're going to have or what kind of window frames you're going to have. Come
That's
with
it.
us. What
Yeah,
what what do you like best? We feel this is right for the job.
yeah,
What do you feel like you want for this job? Or, we want to use a brick, or we want to use a breeze block, or we want to use a siding. This is what we're envisaging. What are you envisaging? What would you like from that? Here's the pros and cons. Here's what could
right.
happen.
So
That's
you pick
their
and choose
that's
your
their
umbilical.
bit in the cockpit. They're allowed to
Yeah,
see on the screen where they are as they fly over the Pacific.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a
I'm
great
just
analogy.
I'm looking at some of these things here. So what we've kind of discussed, why aren't you rich as a designer? I'm just going to summarize some of these. Number
Yep.
one, maybe you're not thinking like a business owner,
hmm
you know, whose number one job is bringing in the right type of projects.
Well,
So
I
that
say
means,
that it's bringing in the right type of client.
right,
And I will preface that. I started this podcast, I don't know, 2020 or something. Can't remember. I think it was. And one of my early podcasts with a guy called Jeffrey Dungan. He's a fabulous architect from Alabama. And early in my podcasting, so if you want to go and listen to it, he gave me this golden realization without even
yeah,
realizing he had. I said to him something like, "So Jeffrey, you must have some, great projects." And he went, "Well, yeah, I do." He said, "It's not about great projects. It's about great people. And with
mm,
great people come great projects." And I tell you, if you've got an architectural firm, and let's just say it's a practice of five people, and you get one absolutely terrible client, it
mm,
will derail your firm. It will derail you. It will suck the creativity out of you. It will suck the joy out of all the other
well,
jobs you've got going.
yeah,
Make sure your people that you're going to work with respect you and you can respect them, and that you've got common values and you've got common things that bring you joy before you ever start working with them,
mm,
and then choose them next on the project they're going to bring you. Not whether it's a portfolio piece or any of those things. Because if you have a great rapport with them and you have a common thing where you can really enjoy them and you can really enjoy giving from your heart and your soul to the project of what it is, and they can enjoy paying you to do that and respect each other all the way, then you do end up with a raving fan who tells everybody else about the journey they've just had, not the draftsman who was cost us 30% more and da 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 da. And
yeah.
they may be too embarrassed to tell the draftsman story. If pushed, they will.
Well, if you do, if it's a true story and you're doing you're doing your clients a favor, but it's part of the education. Your
Mhm.
job is to educate them, and if it's true, then why wouldn't you tell a story? Because they're going to be better off knowing that type of thing than not knowing it.
So
So
that
you know,
that part, go for great people, because working with great people is always fantastic.
well, I reckon you need to subset great people with
With
great
great
projects.
projects.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
exactly.
know,
Yeah.
because you can have great people who are poor as church mice, lovely
Yeah,
people,
they
but
probably then if they've got to be able to afford you. I
yeah,
remember years ago in the AMI thing saying it's not my fault if they can't afford me.
yeah.
They've got nothing to do with me if they can't afford me. It's
No, no,
them.
that's right.
That's their bag.
Why should I
Yeah,
be bending to their problem? It's their
yeah,
problem,
yeah.
mine.
Not mine.
They need
Yeah,
to sort that out. So
yeah,
just to try and summarize
yeah. Sorry.
business. Think like a business owner first. Be strategic, right clients, right projects, get that clear. And your number one job is to learn how to bring those in. So that's
Yeah,
marketing.
yeah.
Number two, we talked about pain and pleasure and how a lot of the other professions, they've got pain
Pain's
businesses.
driving it. Yeah,
Lawyers is often pain. Doctors are
doctors,
often pain. Architecture is often, hey, I want a better
pleasure.
life and a fancy, not always, but usually. So that's part of the reason.
Engineers, not necessarily pain or pleasure. They don't fit in either one.
But
An engineer.
they're legally required, and you can't take them out of the
That's it.
equation.
You can't.
So
Yeah, exactly.
you don't have an
Accountants are
option.
similar.
Yeah.
There's a legal requirement at some point that somebody beyond you certifies or signs off what it is. And they could be pain or pleasure an accountant. They're either unraveling the mess you've made, or they're
Mhm.
putting together a good plan to get you to the next piece. A financial planner, they might be maybe pleasure, do you think?
Risk
Maybe.
reduction. Yeah.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
maybe.
A long time. Yeah, a bit of pleasure if you can get it
Yeah,
sorted out.
yeah.
So that's number two. So number one is think like a business owner. Pain and pleasures. Not much we can do about that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Number three was supply and demand, and
Mm.
talking about. I
Differentiating yourself from a builder or differentiating yourself from a draftsperson. How's your ability to differentiate yourself from the other people that are taking the lion's share of the market up
Yep.
because they'll do it for free or they'll do it, it's thrown in. It's, like they don't have a skill set that is going to actually benefit you
And
in
yeah,
the design space.
and that comes to communication of value, so that I don't think the industry does it very well for designers. So you have to take on that responsibility yourself, and you have to say, all right, it's my job to communicate the difference between good and bad design. And we talked about maybe you can use videos of other people,
Mhm.
you can use photos of before and after and show people, or you can tell stories, graphic stories of good decisions by clients, bad decisions by clients. They don't have to be your clients either. If you're just new,
Mhm.
you can borrow your stories off someone else. If you hear another architect telling a story or designer telling a story, you can tell their story and you say,
Yeah,
hey,
you just credit them with that story. You say, I've got this friend who's an architect, and this is what they've just gone through with a client, or this is what their client has just gone through.
and here's
Oh,
what the client said to them.
yep,
Boom, ba-dum, 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 ba-dum.
yep, yep.
And the end result of that is the client becomes more savvy, more knowledgeable, more educated around the value of good design. And let's face it, like good design doesn't have to be more expensive than
No,
bad design,
no, it
right?
doesn't.
So, let's have a quick check of what good design does. Well, good design can often cost less because the designer knows how to design it in a way which is more cost effective.
Yeah,
That's
in the
fun,
build stage,
right?
what I see a lot is overbuilding. So let's not go to the a very high end of the market where let's just drop it down to people who are spending reasonable money and they want a beautiful home for it. They're not high flying, super wealthy people. They make a good solid living. They can afford their overseas holidays. They can do those things, they can go skiing and they can do all these things that are niceties in life. Their kids may be in private school and stuff, but they're not the super rich. They're just wanting a 5 bedroom home, say, or a 3 bedroom home, whatever the thing is, and they want it beautiful. It is their dream home. They maybe they've got another one in the future, but right now this is the dream home. Those people there, they can when they get it, not always, I'm not blaming this just on builders, but what happens is it gets overbuilt. Now
Yeah.
they've got in the US it's a square foot price, and in England, New Zealand, Australia will be on a square meter price. And so the price per square meter to exercise this design into becoming a built structure is a first metric that we will start to cost from. Price per square meter or price per square foot. And that isn't countrywide, by the way. Like the price per square meter in Sydney versus in, say, Brisbane is vastly different. And there's lots of things that make that the reason. It's not just everybody taking more money. There's more overlays of regulations and things that are not in the build, they're outside of the build, but they have to happen for the build to happen. A good friend of mine, architect, very well known throughout Australia, said to me the other day, we've got $250,000 worth of basically traffic control on this build.
Wow.
Yeah. Because of where it is, what the streets are like, the number of times they have to close it off to get things in and out, cranes, stop go men, all the things that happen. There's $250,000 that it will cost. They're
Mm.
pre-planning $250,000 that they have in the budget for that. And they could run short. So
Mm.
just you look at these things and you go, so that first of all, that square meter price. So then overbuilding in space. If every square meter is costing you, say, could be 4,000, could be 6,000, could be $10,000 a square meter of space. If you overbuild, if you push it out, it just gets bigger and it just costs more.
And it doesn't necessarily mean the
It
result
doesn't
is
live
better.
better.
No,
Doesn't
it
live better.
doesn't work better.
Yep.
It's just bigger and worse.
Yeah. Bigger and
And
worse, bigger and more of it.
yeah, that's right, and more expensive.
It's a
So,
massive
and
thing that you
good
see.
designers, they can design better, they can use space better, they can source materials cheaper because they
Often.
have sourcing. The end space is worth more, can be worth a lot more than a bad
Definitely.
design
Yep.
space. So you can sell it for more.
Yep.
So that extra 10% that you might have paid to a good designer over someone else,
Yep.
you get that back. You get that back in spades because when you sell the thing,
Well, even if you don't even sell it, you get it back in spades when you live in it.
well, you can get that
Yeah.
as
It's not
well.
financial, but you get the livability of
you
it.
get both.
Yeah.
You get to live in a better space and you get to sell it for a higher price and make money on it as
Yep.
opposed to lose money. You can, if you're a property developer, you can they rent faster or they sell faster.
Well, they have less. If you're an investor and you carry property, they usually get better tenants. Tenants stay longer.
So,
The house performs better,
and
makes
the
them
ongoing
happier.
cost, well designed, the ongoing cost is cheaper.
It's cheaper. Yep.
So, there's so many ways that you can communicate the value of good design, but no one, I've been doing this for 15 years with architects. Like architects are terrible at communicating their value. And that's part of the problem. So if you go, hey, one thing I want to be is really good at communicating the value of what I do and what good design is. If that's all you did, then when you're one-on-one, you'll have a good job. You won't necessarily attract people to you because you're not doing it in marketing, but you will convert people who might think, oh yes, I can go with the builder, I can go with the designer, I can go with the cheaper architect. You'll get some of those people to go, oh, good point. I never knew that. I never looked at it that way. I can see why spending more money with you is actually much better value and lower risk. And I'll end up, making more money in the long run by spending a little bit more now and getting the Gore-Tex architect, not the
At the other end.
architect.
Do you know another thing that I think really is interesting, and I made this distinction years and years ago. I actually love to design renovations. I love to design renovations and additions, partly because of the jigsaw puzzle, partly because it's a game in your head. How do you get the best out of something? But one of the other things that's really fascinating with designing a renovation is the person who you're renovating it for has lived in it. And they know what they don't like.
Right.
They've experienced what it doesn't do. And so when you can bring a solution to what it doesn't do, then they are starting to go on their journey with you. Whereas when it's a new build, they come with lots of photos, lots of pictures, and lots of things that they want.
Right.
And at the end of the day, there's a finite, well, not a finite, but there's a budget that they're going to try and realize all this in. And in a renovation, you get to say yes more often than you have to say no than in a new build.
Right.
Because they've got the problem, they're experiencing it, they're feeling it, they're disgruntled, they're daily living with it. So what will they spend to get rid of it? More.
Right. Right.
And you can help them.
They're actually, they're buying pain relief to some degree.
Yep.
And also they understand the value of good design. Well, they understand the value of bad design because they're living in it. So they're easier and quicker to educate because they're coming in already educated about what design is. I don't like that. I don't like that. And I don't like that.
So one of the questions we ask everybody on our wish list is in the home that you currently live in or homes that you've lived in the past, can you tell us the things that you don't want to ever experience again?
Yeah, right.
Because how critical is that? It gets them to go, oh, yeah, well, that was awful, or that was terrible. Oh, remember how that happened? Yeah, we never want that again. Okay, cool. Now we also know that we can use that with them when we're talking to them. We can say, tell us about that. And they'll go, oh, it was a nightmare. This would be the thing that constantly happened. And I'm doing a project at the moment where she gets up really early in the morning and goes to work really early, but she finishes early as well. So she does that, and her husband doesn't. And she needs to be able to get up and put makeup on. She needs to be able to be suited and booted to present herself because she's going to be physically seen by many, by lots, like a TV presenter. But she has to get up early, do this. She has to look her best, get in there, get to work. And we're doing a renovation on their home and an addition. And one of the things is how does she go from the bedroom to the robe and the ensuite where she can prepare herself for her day in the dark and then step outside of that door without disturbing her husband in bed. And so this is where good design matters.
Right.
How do we make the separation for light? How do we make the separation for noise? How do we set that up so that it means that they can function as a family?
Interesting.
So this is where you get into what their needs are and our unique needs. How do we do that? And I was with them on Friday and I said, look, I'm going to set up your bedroom walls this particular way, so that I've got these insulation points so there'll be no noise transfer. And often you might use a robe like that and let the robe be the buffer, but we're going, no, we need a buffer. We need this. And so, yeah, simple design solutions like running two walls separated, and both of them acoustically treated, so that there's no vibration through the timbers, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And it's a low-cost solution, but it will make all the difference to livability. That's better design.
Now you're talking about good design, and I'm thinking about educating people for value of good design. And what you said there, like, would be a great little short video, just teaching people just exactly what you said, the nitty gritty of here's the problem,
Yep.
here's what they're thing. It's only a little thing, but it makes a big difference to them.
Yeah.
And here's what we did. And if it's worth telling a story here, it's because it's a good story. And so I don't think designers tell enough little stories like this, because you get 7 or 8 of these little stories of how you've solved real problems for people. They're good little 2 to 3 minute bite-sized educational chunks that if I listen to 6 of them and I start going, oh, I see, I'm starting to pick up good design. He's taught it to me. He must be a good designer.
Maybe it just shows a level of awareness that the designer you're working with has awareness. And when the designer that you're working with, like, a question I often ask people is, which side of the bed do you sleep on?
Right.
Because I want to map their journey
Yeah.
in the house.
Yeah, right.
So
that attention to detail,
make it a better journey for them.
well, that attention to detail is part of part of what makes you a great designer is
it's crazy little things. There's another one that I do often is I'll go, okay, so if you've got a couple and they've got kids, that are maybe, let's go, they're 7 and 10, yeah, and we'll make them boys just for the hell of it. Why not? It doesn't really matter. And mum picks them up from school each day. Let's just say that that's the scenario. And generally on the way home from school, she either ends up stopping at the shops or doing something else, but not always. Or she's taking them to an activity. So she's got bloody soccer boots or, footy boots or whatever it is. And she's wrangling them, They need to be fed. They need some food in them. They need a drink. They need, water. They probably, by the time they get to wherever they're going, they need to pee again, all these sorts of things. And she's wrangling, she's managing the situation, And when she gets home, let's just say they've been playing footy and they've got dirty boots, wet, grassy, whatever it is, then they've been running around, they're smelly, they're, exhausted or whatever, they're again ready to eat again. That's why I made them boys. They're always ready to eat. And gets them home, and she's got to get them or do it herself, all those things out of the car and into the house.
Right.
Yeah. Now, most garage doors that enter into the house, you pull them towards you. So why wouldn't I just put a round knob handle on that so that there's no chance at all of her using an elbow or a leg or a foot or anything
Right.
else? She has to put down whatever's in her hand
Right.
to now open that door and pull it towards her.
Yeah. Right.
Or could I make that door actually swing out the other way
Yeah. Right.
against a wall, and it's a lever so she could push it with her elbow and push it open, and she can still maintain everything that's in her hands?
Yeah. Right.
That's good design.
That's good, and that's an example of good design. Yeah, and it's like when you get an Apple first time you ever if you ever buy an Apple Mac or something like that.
Uh-huh.
I remember going through it. I didn't quite, because it was a bit different. But then you'd be going through it, and I remember the number of times I was going through the Mac and starting to use it, and things would happen. I go, "Oh, that's clever."
Yeah, yeah.
They've,
You get a
they've
little tick of joy, a smile
yeah,
on
it
your face.
was. And it's
Yeah.
like they've thought this through and
Mhm.
they've worked this out before I even realized that's clever.
Yep.
That's clever. That's clever. And it happened so many times. And I thought I can see why Mac is
The powerhouse.
it's the designer's choice,
Mhm.
because they have thought of the little things up front. And
They've invented most of the little things that everybody else ends up copying.
yeah, well, that's right.
It's
But
like
but I
they,
noticed going from Microsoft to Mac, there was so many little things, and I thought, oh, that's clever.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Well,
clever.
you think of this in cars, the same thing
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
And it happens in so many things. It happens in clothing. It happens in shoes. It happens with layers upon layers of things, lighting in a house. The door, the way the door may open, whether it swings to that side or that side. Where's your journey going to be? And if your journey is going to take you round the handle, more chance you'll catch a pocket, bang your hips, do whatever on it, versus if your
Mm,
journey is going to lead you away from
mm,
it. What's your dominant hand of your customer? Where will that lead them? What's the easiest point? Where are you going to put the light switch if that's the next thing they're going to need? Where's the dominant pieces? How are you going to line these things up that makes the journey simpler? And it's like you've thought of it before them.
mm.
It's intuitively there.
Yeah,
That's good design.
good design. So our question was why aren't architects rich? Do you think we've
I,
answered
th
the question?
I think we have, because I think I honestly think that they come back to that point, and I've got a big thing written on here saying bad building, and then positive building. I've got that's written right across my page, and
Right.
I go, if you want to command better fees,
Yeah.
it comes back to doing rigorous design. The product has to be the product. You can't talk about it and not deliver.
Yep.
You've got to be able to deliver this. So the
Mhm.
first thing is what's your thinking level, and be rigorous with your thinking level. And then beyond that, that thing of communicating. So you've got to become the educator, and people are looking for pleasure. They're not experiencing pain. Maybe they are, maybe their house is too small and they've got kids and they're bursting at the seams. Well, if that's the case, then you need to find that out. And
Mm,
then you need to communicate to them that you understand it and that you understand how they are experiencing it, not you experiencing it, they are experiencing it. And
mm,
then understand that you can offer them to teach them that you can offer them solutions that go way beyond a bigger room. Maybe I look at what the things that I've done with things like the land whispering. The most important thing about any building, first of all, is orientation. That's the number one thing. How's it orientated to take in the things that we get for nothing? So we don't get much for nothing in this life, but we get the air, we get the rain, we get the wind, and we get the sunshine.
mhm,
So the air has, breezes, all the rest. We get ambient noise as well for nothing. We don't pay for it, but everything else we pretty much pay for. If we've got a view, we pay for the view. We pay for it in our rates or our taxes or whatever. So if you think about this, those are the things that we get by living on the planet for nothing. In architecture, the number one thing that is going to determine how well those are used is the orientation of the home.
Right.
and how it orientates to its environment. So I went down that track of doing land whispering, going, okay, I see this as it's the first thing. I say to clients, there's three really important factors here. The first one, but not the most important, but it will be the most important at this point, is the orientation of your home. The second one is what are the regulations we're going to be building or designing it under? Because you're either going to spend your budget on fighting the regulations or you're going to work within them. I don't mind either way, but one's going to have a cost, an exponential cost. And the third one, which is the most important, is you, the customer. But if we can get those other two sorted and we get to use all those free gifts that we got by being born onto the planet and maximize what we're getting for free so that your home performs better, now we're at a good start point. And land whispering goes beyond that, but that's that first premise of it, and then design magic. With design magic, it became a whole thing around how do we budget and cost backwards and forwards. What's our process to get to budgets, to get to even what the budget should be, whether it's realistic, whether it's possible. Get that out early. And then the third one after that is the emotional floor plan, which is how does your house feel? How does it emotionally support you? How does it physically support your health? What's the emotional floor plan? What has each room got its purpose? What's its purpose at this time of day, this day of the week? What are those things? And how do we support you as the person who is spending this big lump of money to live in something fabulous? Those key items, and go back to that thing about marketing. I have those key items as items to discuss in my marketing that sets me apart from other people, and a process around each one of them.
Love it.
Well, look, design magic I had before I met you, but the other two I developed with you. So it's that thing. And with land whispering, we have a group of architects all around the world that are using it. And we have a community, a land whisperer. We call them the Whisperers Group, but we have a Whisperers Group community that takes those things and works with them.
Seeing you're an international society, what you probably could do and should do is come up with your own certification,
Certify them.
certify yourselves, create some badges,
Yep.
and stick up some rules that have to be adhered to be a qualified land whisperer, and like the universities do, anoint yourself as the qualifying authority. That might be part of the value building as well.
I think one of the things that, like you say, with it, that is really valuable, and that being an international person, one of the things that as a business I realized was I don't want to just design in my own neighborhood. And that's not an ego trip thing. It's a adventure thing for me. For me, it's an adventure. And then I also am very humbled by the opportunity to create something for someone. It's a humbling thing. You're going to affect their life on a daily basis. So I take a lot of responsibility with that. And through the land whispering and buddies that I've made, I'm currently with one of the other land whisperers. He's my architect of record in the UK on the project I'm doing in the UK.
Right.
Do you think we have common values? Hell yeah. Do you think that we care about it? Something like, yeah, that's why. And, I'm able to work in England while he's there. The same for New Zealand, the same for, Victoria, for another state in Australia, the same in the US. I'm able to work with these people that I have built the relationship with, and I want to be able to be a global designer.
Yeah.
That's part of my goals and part of my thing for the adventure of doing it. But I need their expertise because they're the ones who understand their environments better than me. I can land whisper, I can do those things. However, they're the ones who understand their regulations. They're the ones that do that. And, to me, it's fulfilling a dream of mine to help other people fulfill their dreams, but I want to just do it in different countries as well as here, as well as here. And, that all those things back into that kind of like my goal as a designer, and then being paid to do the job, being paid well to do the job and doing a rigorous job to do it well. Doing it really is, I'll go and educate myself a million times over and over and over to be a better designer, as well as a better marketer, as well as a better advocate for great design. So that's the joy of it, isn't it? I mean, you think of the amount of time, so you're a coach, the amount of time you spend educating yourself versus the amount of time you spend delivering the coaching. The education so outweighs it.
Yeah.
You're always on the hunt. You're always looking. I think of all the things that I share with you. You've got people who are invested in sharing better stuff with you so that you can bring it to more people. It's crazy. But education's that thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It helps to have a growth mindset, where you can't help it. You just want to learn.
Well, I think this is one of the things that architects end up with. I think the most architects, especially if they what would fall into the category of a design architect versus maybe a project architect. So, design architects are often the creative driving force of something, where the design architect's actually the person who gets the shit together and makes it happen. And in bigger firms, you'll have design architects and project architects, and they work together and create teams, but one will have a higher strength in detailing and maybe regulations and things like that, and then getting it through construction, where the other one may be a whole lot more idea generation and understanding of people. So you maybe an introvert extrovert kind of play in there. So when you look at that, I think that you could be on either side of that, but with it separating into what it is that you want to bring to people, and then who do you need around you? What is that eco structure? And where are you getting your education from? And how often are you being re-educated? How often are you getting more education, in business? And that's, marketing, finances, all those things. That's business. That's separate from drawing pictures for people with houses or buildings or whatever. That's another thing. And, I look at it and I go, you've actually got a responsibility as an architect to do well enough so that your client can recommend you to the next person, that you're not broke, that you're not like falling apart, that it's like a builder. Do you want to recommend a builder who goes broke on a project? There's no way.
No, it's tough. I'm getting some signals from other people in my house.
Oh, good, man.
I've been given the 10 minutes. It's Friday night.
Oh, we've got a whole 10 minutes.
That's it. I've got to have a shower. And
no, fabulous, buddy.
Thank you.
I think that we've got a really good summary there of things, like you said.
Yeah.
And there is such an opportunity for that thing of showing bad architecture, good architecture, and telling the story, and whether it's somebody else's or your own. And then we didn't even touch on AI, but then also creating the right presentations for people so that they can trust where you're going and having the right processes. Yeah.
Love it.
Cool, man.
We'll go deep and we'll go deep.
We'll do it again. We'll do an AI one.
Sounds good. Thanks, Adrian. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely, man. Always a pleasure. Always something to be learnt and something to be gained. I love it. Got a pad full of notes. Cheers, buddy.
Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you for tuning into our conversation. I hope it left you both informed and inspired. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen. And please don't hesitate to share your design thoughts with me. It's always a joy to hear from you. If you're like me and crave a deeper dive into design thinking, coupled with a love for travel and adventure, consider one of my architectural adventures. Join me and some of my wonderful design friends and embark on a journey of a lifetime. Apply for an unforgettable design experience at adrianramsey.com. With our clients spanning the globe, I firmly believe behind every great project are great people. If you're a great person and seeking to turn your dream into a reality, I'd be honored to design your home with you. Why not join the ranks of our exceptional clients and let's make your heart sing? Reach out to me at studio@adrianramsey.com. ardesignhouse.com. That's studio@ardesignhouse.com. And let's get a conversation going and make your heart sing.